One of the reasons people were optimistic about Ohio State's defense was because players who were very young last year but showed some positive things were going to be moving into their second year. And one of them was Denzel Burke. And 2 games in, a lot of questions about how Denzel Burke's been playing. He was a freshman All-American last year and has not been a bright spot of this defense through 2 games. I'm Nathan Baird from cleveland.com along with Stephen Means. His Pro Football Focus grade, and as we've talked before about those grades from the first game, was iffy. And those are, I'd rather look at those over the long term than like pick one game out because I frankly don't know exactly how they grade those. But it was kind of iffy, and today I think it's probably going to be lower. What are you seeing from Denzel Burke as you watch this defense play that is contributing today? 2 pass interference calls, flags on 1 drive, gives up a long bomb down the sidelines, had some other plays that where he just looks like the discipline isn't there. Kind of the fundamentals are lacking a little bit.
We can honestly say this with a straight face. He is the reason why Ohio State gave up 2 field goals. Of those 12, of the 4 that they gave up, he's the reason why. They were getting off the field, and he does something to either give up a big play or a DPI. I think what we're seeing is a return to the mean, a little bit with what he is. I'm not sitting now. He might come back out here next week and for the rest of the season be awesome. But as of right now, as we're talking about him, I've said this a couple of times. I won't be shocked if he, Jordan Hancock, and J.K. Johnson get out of here and he ends up being the third of the bunch, just based on what their base talent level is. Now, we haven't seen Jordan yet, and we saw J.K. a little bit. He had some moments, but there was still a developmental curve there. But I think last year we hyped him up a lot, but we had to remember, and you said this a lot, he was very good for a freshman who shouldn't have been in that position. Now, as those other guys catch up, now I want to see Jordan Hancock first before I completely double down on this decision, but it just seems right now that he's coming back to the mean a little bit on what he was as a recruit. Meanwhile, Cameron Brown on the other side has been pretty quality through 2 games. I thought he was awesome against Notre Dame, even against Michael Mayer and some of the times that they put him on him, and then he led the team in tackles today. So of the 2 guys that we thought would be awesome first 2 games, it's been the other way. But I do think it's a return to the mean a little bit for Denzel Burke, and we should maybe slow our roll on what he might be.
I don't want to take anything away from what he did last year because coming in as a true freshman, a guy who hadn't played cornerback very much, I thought that was a pretty impressive season. But I did kind of say coming into the year, as we were discussing him a lot, because he deserves to be discussed a lot. He's a really good football player and a key part of this team. But, is he ready to be one of the best cornerbacks in football? That's something he kind of had to prove this year more than I think it should have just been given to him. I don't think that's really happened through 2 games. But I think as we've seen with a lot of guys, there's room for growth, there's room for improvement, and a long way to do that. You just don't expect it maybe to get kind of exposed to the way that it did today against a team like Arkansas State. I mean, they were getting some pretty big plays against him with a guy who's 5'5" and who wasn't in the starting lineup at Oregon State. Yeah. And that's really not the standard here. So I'm going to be curious. Accountability has been a big deal through these first couple games. What happened with Josh Proctor in the first game, where he misses 1 tackle and doesn't play the rest of the game. Today there was a penalty with Teron Vincent coming out of halftime, and then he just disappeared for the second half, and they let other guys play those D-tackle spots. And they haven't been shy about that message of accountability, and I'm curious if that happens with Josh Proctor. Like you said, J.K. Johnson came in for him for several series today. He didn't play at all in the first game against Notre Dame. So does he get a bigger role against Toledo? I'm not saying I don't think Burke will start, but he's probably on notice a little bit because, and like you said, Jordan Hancock is waiting in the wings. Hasn't played at all these first 2 games. Was listed as out for this game, but he was the highest rated. Or actually, I guess Johnson was the highest rated prospect of the 3, but Hancock was the one that we'd been hearing all offseason something's coming. So what I'm saying is if it turns out that Denzel Burke is not necessarily the best of that group because those other 2 guys surpass him, maybe even this season, or at least get up to his level, then that's actually probably a good thing for Ohio State in the long run. But you can't have bad cornerback play at that spot. And today the cornerback play wasn't good at that spot. Get the text, 614-350-3315 for our analysis all season long. And listen to Buckeye Talk wherever you can find podcasts.